Let me tell you a story most people have never heard. Not because it isn't important, but because it was forgotten, or perhaps intentionally erased. Let's go back in time. Not to churches filled with people, not to organized institutions, but to the early centuries after Jesus. A time when Christianity was not one single belief system, it was many. Different groups, different ideas, different understandings of who Jesus was. These were the lost Christian sects. Now imagine this, it is the 2nd century. You are a believer, but depending on where you live, your understanding of Jesus could be completely different. In one city, Jesus is seen as a human prophet. In another, he is seen as divine but not equal to God. In another, he is something entirely different. There is no single agreed doctrine. Now let's talk about some of these groups. The Ebionites. They were among the earliest followers. They believed Jesus was the Messiah, but not God. They followed Jewish law. They emphasized strict monotheism. For them, God was one, without division. Then there were the Gnostics. They had a very different view. They believed in hidden knowledge, secret teachings. Some believed the material world was flawed and that salvation came through knowledge. Their understanding of Jesus was very different from mainstream Christianity. Then there were the Marcionites. They believed the God of the Old Testament was different from the God preached by Jesus. This was a radical idea, and it created major controversy. Now pause. All of these groups claimed to follow Jesus, yet their beliefs were completely different. So what happened to them? Why don't we hear about them today? The answer lies in power. As Christianity grew, leaders wanted unity, and unity requires agreement. So certain beliefs were accepted, others were rejected. Over time, those rejected beliefs were labeled as heresy. Texts were excluded, teachings were suppressed, and slowly, these groups disappeared from mainstream history. Now think about this carefully. History is often written by the winners. The beliefs that survive are not always the only beliefs that existed. They are the ones that became dominant. This does not automatically make others false, but it does raise important questions. What did these lost sects believe? Why were they rejected? And what can they tell us about early Christianity? Now let's connect this to a bigger idea. If early Christianity had one clear, unified message, why were there so many different sects? Why such diversity? Why such disagreement? The existence of these sects shows something important. The understanding of Jesus was not the same everywhere. It varied, it developed, it evolved. Now let's look at it from another perspective. In Islam, the message is clear and consistent. All prophets came with the same core message: worship one God. Jesus is honored as a prophet and Messiah, but not God. This clarity removes confusion. It removes division. It creates a unified understanding. Now again, this discussion is not about attacking beliefs. It is about history, understanding how ideas develop. Because when we study the past, we begin to see patterns. We see how beliefs form, how they spread, how some survive, and how others disappear. So here is the question I want you to think about. If these lost sects once existed, and many of them had very different beliefs about Jesus, what does that tell us about the early history of Christianity? Was it always unified, or did it become unified over time? Do you agree with this point? Like if yes, comment if you disagree. And if you enjoy deep, thought-provoking discussions like this, subscribe to Theology Unveiled. Because sometimes what is forgotten can reveal the most.